Hey everyone, welcome back to another Beast of the Mesozoic Tyrannosaur series review. Today we're taking a look at the Wave 2 Qianzhousaurus. And yet again, I'd like to give a huge thank you to David Silva at Creative Beast Studios for sending out these production samples so we can do these early reviews. Your continued support of the channel is very much appreciated. Now, for those of you wondering when Wave 2 is going to ship, they are currently on the water at the time of this review. They should be ready to ship around the beginning of August. This Qianzhousaurus is currently still up for the pre-order price of $54.99. Once they come into stock, it's going to jump up to $60. So if you want to secure that lower price, I'll leave a link down below to Creative Beast Studios if you want to secure that pre-order. So let's go over the package really quick before we crack open this colorful looking Tyrannosaur. I love the new sleeveless look of these packages. We have this beautiful artwork of the Qianzhousaurus scratch, giving itself a good scratch. Look at the Beast of the Mesozoic logo up here, Tyrannosaur series logo, Beast of the Mesozoic logo on the top and on the side, and spinning around we get a nice product shot of the Qianzhousaurus, some information about it, and the other figures available in this wave. So David only sent me the Qianzhousaurus and the previously reviewed Vista Reversa. I am getting the rest of these when my actual order ships out when everyone else is in August. And once those come into my hand, I'll be doing full reviews on those. So enough about the packaging. Let's crack this figure open and take a closer look. And here is the Qianzhousaurus of the packaging. I have to say, what an absolutely fantastic looking figure. Now, this body type might seem familiar to some of you. This is the same body that the juvenile Rex did use, obviously with a Qianzhousaurus head sculpt on it. Really fun body type to play around with. The juvenile T-Rex was really fun to pose, and this Qianzhousaurus should be on the same level. Absolutely love the color scheme. It's so bright and vibrant, just like most of the Tyrannosaurs. It's based off a real life living animal. It's based off the blue Malaysian coral snake. I did not forget this time like I did in the Vista review, but yeah, really colorful and striking. All that nice black, electric blue, orange and reds. It just really makes for a nice striking figure. It doesn't look too vivid. It still looks like a pretty natural looking color scheme that you'd find on an animal. But yeah, this thing is really cool. Love the long snout on the Qianzhousaurus. They were a divergent class of type of Tyrannosaurs that had really long snouts. They didn't involve those big, robust skulls that the later species of Tyrannosaurus did, like Tarbosaurus, Spinosaurus, and T-Rex. So yeah, really cool to have a nice articulated version of this species. Now time for some measurements. This figure is 12 inches long from the tip of that long snout to the tip of the tail, or 30.5 centimeters, and about 4.5 inches tall. To the hips are 11.4 centimeters. So Qianzhousaurus in real life was 20.7 feet long, or 6.3 meters. So I put this figure in the 120 scale range. And just like all Beast of the Mesozoic figures, you do get this really nice collector card of the Qianzhousaurus, giving itself a nice little scratch. Turn the card around, you do get some facts about Qianzhousaurus. Now, for accessories, you do get a pair of open toes, which come installed on the figure. You do get a pair of closed-toed feet. It's just easy to change them out. You're just going to pop off the joint, the ball joint on these feet, and then just pop them back on with the joint. It's so hard to do it on camera because I'm sitting so far back, but you just pop it on, and then that will be on there. And then we do have a pair of open-toe feet, and then we get this nice display base that is the same base that came with the juvenile T-Rex. You got a couple peg holes for the feet right here. You do have a hole for the support rod. You have a couple of different options with the rod. Painted a nice muddy color. You have impressions of the feet on here, and you have some nice mossy detail all around the entire base. Bottom base is hollow. Kind of miss the storage that we used to have on the Raptor base. It would be nice if David could figure out something to store these on here. So I have like so many Ziploc bags with all the feet for these Tyrannosaurs buried in a drawer. Now, as far as the different options to display this figure, you can use those two little notches to peg the feet into the base. You just get a little balancing with the figure to keep it upright. And you can also use the longer rod to support the calves to have the feet raised off the ground for different posing options. And lastly, you do have the shorter rod with this clasp right here. It's the same one that came with the juvenile Tyrannosaur, and I can get it around my juvenile Tyrannosaur, but for some reason I cannot get it around the Qianzhousaurus. I just wish that clasp was just a little bit wider, because put too much force, you're gonna end up cracking these. It's supposed to go around the ankle right here, but I just really can't get it in for some reason on this figure. But those are the display options that come with this, which I think are quite helpful. You get some cool poses out of this figure. And now let's zoom in and take a look at some of the finer details on the figure, style with this beautiful head sculpt. Qianzhousaurus had a very long and low head shape, very similar to what juvenile tyrannosaurs look like, but they never outgrew that phase. They carried this into adulthood, so very, very nicely done. The eye is painted yellow with a black pupil. Has a nice glossy paint to give it that wet look. You do have some nice peach coloration for the end of the snout. You can see the nostrils right here, a little bone coloration for the crest and ridges along the top of the skull. They have all this bright orange and black and yellow mixed in for the back of the head. So let's open up the mouth really quick and take a look at all that detail. All the very small teeth are very, very nicely painted, all done with glossy pink paint inside the mouth. And for the gums, you can see the nasal passages sculpted in back right there. And you can see the tongue, which is supposed to have a little bit of articulation. We don't get really too much out of that. And here's a view of the head from the top and a view of the head on the bottom with some bright yellow and whites mixed in for the underside of the throat. And then let's take a view from the front. Still kind of got that Rex binocular vision, not as much as some of the larger species. And then going down to the neck, you get some of that nice electric blue starting to come in on that very long neck. And you got all that nice electric blue striping along the sides of the body, the hips, and a stripe down the tail. Just love that blue. Just really makes this figure pop. And then going down to the arms, nicely sculpted forearms with nice long sharp claws, all decked out in glossy black paint. You do have some nice details on the palm of those two fingers. And then going down to the main body, some more of that orange mixed in with that black and blue, and that nice cream coat on the underside. And going down to the legs, a lot of nice color transition on the legs. You got black to brown to orange and to that cream color with that blue mixed in here and there. And then going down to the feet, you have this nice striping pattern on those feet. The toe claws are decked out in glossy black paint. On the underside of the feet, we do have some nice details on the bottom of the feet. And then going down to the tail, we get that nice stripe mixed in with that black and orange all the way down to the tip. So all in all, a very nicely colored figure. I just love the bright splashes of color on here. It really makes this figure pop. Now for articulation, we did the mouth already, but let's do it again. Mouth can open up that wide. You do have a joint on the back of the head for some upwards, downwards movement, and side to side. Let's get the camera to focus in on all that on that neck joint. And then for the back of the neck, man, my camera does not like focusing in on this figure. You get some upwards and downwards and some nice side to side movement on that joint. So with both joints, you get some nice side to side movement on this figure. So you get some nice head movement with that. A lot different than the larger Tyrannosaurs that actually have that hoodie that kind of restricts it. But yeah, nicely done on that articulation. And then for the forearms, let's get the camera refocused. You get some forwards and backwards moves. They are on a hinge, so they can swing out a little bit. You do have a joint at the elbow, and you get about 90 degrees of bend on the elbow. Wrists can rotate, and they are on a hinge joint, and they can swing inwards and outwards. And then going down to the main body, you do have a cut on the main body. You can get some nice side to side movement on that joint, and some up and downwards movement on that mid-cut joint. And then going down to the hind legs, you get some backwards and forwards movement. Real nice movement on that hip joint. For the knee, you get about just under 90 degrees of bend on that knee joint. It does have a rotation in there. And then for the ankle joint, you get forwards and backwards and rotation. And for the feet, you get a little bit of a tilt and pivot on there, and you can rotate the feet joint separately if you want it to help with stability. And going down to the tail, the whole tail is just rubber, has that bendy wire in there, but you do have a ball joint at the base. Get some upwards, downward, side to side movement, and you can use that rubber wire to pose the tail in multiple positions. So all around, the articulation is really fun in this figure. Like I said, on par with the juvenile Tyrannosaur, which it should be since they share the same body. Now for comparisons, first up here it is with the Hammond Collection Robert Muldoon. He's a 3 3/4 inch figure, so he's around 1/18 scale, so they scale really well with the Tyrannosaurs. And next up here are a few other Qianzhousaurus figures from other companies. We have Safari's Limited, which came out a couple years ago, and then we have PNSOs. My favorite out of these three is the Beast of the Mesozoic. I just like the head sculpt much better and the much more vivid color scheme. The Safari one is a nice figure. It just looks like it's gonna gun me to death. And the PNSO one is also great, but it has that lipless look, which I am not a fan of. And PNSO, I think they also did a baby Qianzhousaurus figure in their mini line a while ago. PNSO has so many minifigures, I just lose track of what they have. And next up, let's do some oviraptors. I don't think any of these existed alongside Qianzhousaurus. We have the Safari Cytopedi. We have their old Carnegie collection oviraptor, which does not want to stand. Let me lean it up against the Cytopedi. The oviraptor is blue. You can use it as a stand-in for a Crithoraptor. The recreate scene of it hunting from prehistoric planet. And here is Safari Limited and Zoo. And next up here is what some of these smaller beasts of the Mesozoic figures. We have the Guanlong, baby Diabloceratops, and 1/18 scale Protoceratops. Let's do a couple of the ceratopsians. Here it is with Wendy Ceratops, and here it is. Let's do an Asian ceratopsian. Here it is with Sinoceratops. And next, here it is with some of the larger Tyrannosaurs. We have the Utyrannus and the previously reviewed Vistaversa. And lastly, here it is with the king itself, the 1/18 scale T-Rex. And why not? Because he's off to the side over here. Here it is with Masterpiece Beast Wars Megatron. So final thoughts on Beast of the Mesozoic Qianzhousaurus, another fantastic figure in this awesome lineup of Tyrannosaurs. Absolutely love the color scheme on here. It's nice and vivid without it being too unnatural looking. Just that electric blue, orange, and black just really contrasts so nicely together. It has an absolutely gorgeous head sculpt. This body type is really fun to mess around with the articulation all around. An A+ figure. Pretty much any figure from Beast of the Mesozoic is going to be a centerpiece in most people's collections. This Qianzhousaurus is no different. Now, like I said at the beginning of the review, if you still want to get this figure for the pre-order price of $54.99, the link to Creative Beast Studios is down below in the description. Once they come into stock, which should be, I think, the beginning of August, is the estimate. They're going to jump up to about $59.99. So that will do it for the review. I still have one more early review to do from Beast of the Mesozoic. It's the Fan's Choice 1/18 scale Dromaeosaurus. I'll be doing that one probably in the next day or so, so stay tuned for that. Still have some new PNSO stuff coming in, Jurassic World, lots of stuff I still got to get to review on this channel, so stay tuned for all that. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.